I came across Michael at the entrance to the classroom. He looked at me coldly, but said nothing. It's not like he had to say anything. No one would show it openly, but everyone, except probably Kyosuke, considered me a social pariah. Or maybe I'd just become a persona non grata, since I'd never really tried to change my caste, deeming it impossible. There was absolutely no way I could keep being in their company. I quickly packed my bag, and with my eyes lowered, walked out of the classroom. The bell reached me in the schoolyard, and deep inside I felt sad, and for some reason even disgusted. I guess I had never really given thought to the fact that on weekday afternoons the streets were populated by totally different people than in the evenings. Children and teenagers were studying while adults were mostly at work. But pensioners of all ages, mothers with their strollers, all kinds of couriers and delivery boys, crawled out of their homes between 9 and 6 o'clock to enjoy the still warm autumn sun. Soon they would be replaced by office workers in their identical gray suits, children who couldn't wait to have some fun, and exhausted factory workers. But for now, Tokyo belonged fully to that nice, motley crowd. I slowed down to catch a few more smiles from strangers passing by. It had a calming effect on me. In the end, some people were capable of not only drowning in their own problems, but also bringing some happiness in the world, sharing their good mood with others. Even if in reality things were different, and it was just a sign of politeness. I came home, kicked off my boots, and walked into the kitchen. The TV was still on, showing a program for housewives. Household Secrets. Himitsu probably watched it often. At first I thought the ring of the doorbell was part of the show, but I quickly realized that wasn't the case and opened the door. Oh. Interesting. No. Don't tell me Kagome kidnapped Himitsu. Don't tell me Kagome went and kidnapped Himitsu. Kagome, we need to talk about your plan of attack, because you need to switch it up sometimes. Obviously nothing's been said yet, but that's immediately where my mind's going. Inosuke-san was standing at my doorstep. Physically fit, as focused as always, with a cold look in his eyes and abrupt military precise gestures. How come I never figured out he wasn't just a simple government employer? Inosuke-san? I greeted him briefly and slightly lowered my head. May I come in? Sure. I walked into the kitchen and offered a chair. Nikolai, I respect you, so I'm not going to pretend or put on an act here. I think you have long realized what's going on. You've become very interesting to the KGB lately. That explains a lot. I froze in place. I hoped he didn't know that I had eavesdropped on him in the village. I'm not aware how much you know, but it is in your best interest to tell me everything here and now. What I know? He said quietly. So this is the person I'd known half my life. Not only had he been lying abjectly to my parents and me for so many years, but he also managed to drag his own daughter into this. Oh, I know enough. Let me tell you a story. About a nice neighbor who pretends to be a family friend, about how he's willing without hesitation to betray anyone on command. For him, the ends justify the means, and there are no moral boundaries. He'll even use his own daughter to accomplish his goals. Any means, right, Ryunosuke-san? Am I right? I snapped, but I couldn't feel any particular danger coming from him. I was, at least to a degree, confident he hadn't come to kill me. That's your point of view. You're entitled to it, but there are many others. However, Nikolai, you should calm down. That'd be better for everyone. His impenetrable seriousness was more frightening than all of Irina's words combined. Is that a threat? For now, it's a warning. I hope I'm not mistaken about you. I won't need to deploy methods that are more appropriate for stupid scum. His arrogance stung. There was something of Japanese militarism in him. And still, I was scared and simply couldn't hide it. Nikolai, I want to help you, no matter how crazy that may sound to you. I have helped you before, over many years. I've been doing things that go beyond the scope of my responsibilities. Even things that violated direct orders. He added in a quieter voice. I have done things you haven't a clue about. Are you talking about my parents? I smirked. Believe me, I had nothing to do with what happened to them. Of course you don't. I realize that you have no reason to trust me, but this is a dangerous game you're playing, albeit against your will. You must have realized already that there are many players in this game, so I will say once again, I have nothing to do with your parents' death. Mrs. Father seemed to speak genuinely, but I caught myself thinking that during the entire conversation, his facial expression had barely changed. It doesn't matter what I think, right? And why'd you come here at all? Finally he knit his brows and said quietly, I need to know everything you know. If I knew something, I'd gladly tell you. You have my word. so fucking fed up with your game. I slapped my neck with my palm, showing how fed up I was exactly. So if I had a chance to do something that would make you all leave me be... I believe you, Nikolai. He interrupted me and suddenly smiled. And that's it? Yes. Is there anything else you want to discuss? What happens now? Do you? I don't know. However, you must realize that after everything that's happened, you better keep away from my daughter. How? But... I mumbled impotently. Be well. Ooh. Irinosuke-san stood up and left. When the door closed behind him, I sank exhaustedly into the chair. Of course, arguing with him would have been pointless and risky, and besides, what could I say? It's not like Himitsu wanted to see me. But that was only for now. In the end, she'd definitely come. Wouldn't she? And what did he mean by I don't know? That I didn't have to fear Japanese intelligence anymore? Or that everything was over for me? No. If that were the case, he wouldn't have warned me about Himitsu. I was shattered and crushed and, most importantly, humiliated. For the first time. Irina could threaten me all she wanted, but she didn't have any aces up her sleeve. Irinosuke-san had Himitsu. And he played his card brilliantly, breaking my will and bringing me to my knees in a couple of minutes. If I had anything to tell them, I would have done it immediately without hesitation. Ichinose? It didn't seem like they were really interested in him. My conversations with Irina or Kagome? They were, in the end, not very informative. I didn't know anything except that. But why? Why was it so easy? The answer to this question was becoming more and more obvious. I couldn't stay home alone now. If something happens, you know where to find me. And there I was, dialing that cherished number again. It was quite early, but maybe she was at home. After a few beeps, somebody eventually responded. Hello? Hi, it's me. Catherine didn't reply. You already back from school? And silence again. What was I trying to achieve by stating facts? I summoned all my courage and said, You said that I would know where to find you. I guess I have. In the park, in an hour. Katya replied briefly and hung up. Everything seemed to have worked maybe too easily. Despite my efforts, I didn't manage to arrive before Catherine. She was already waiting for me there. Her house was much closer to the park. Catch your breath first. She smiled condescendingly and pointed at a bench. We sat down. Not a day passed. Sorry if I distracted you from something important. I always have time for you. Besides, it's clear something's happened. When I called Catherine, I hadn't figured out what I was going to tell her. It was just a whim and a lack of other options. I looked at her with plea in my eyes, as if hoping that she'd guess it all herself and I wouldn't have to lie, or worse, tell her everything in detail. Himitsu? Yes, we had a fight. Not that it's the first time, but this time it's serious. You talked to her after everything I told you? Although you already knew. Yeah. Unlike Himitsu, I hadn't promised not to lie to Catherine. She didn't have to know what Ryunosuke-san had told me. My life doesn't change much. That's for sure. But why am I here? Well, I had even less desire to say that I just felt lonely and that Kyosuke wouldn't have made for good company here. Although even if I had had a choice, would I have called someone else? I just don't want to be alone. You get used to it. It's not quick and easy, but eventually you get used to it. She caught a yellowish leaf flying in the air and attentively, as if studying it, spun it on her fingers. I have a lot of experience in terms of loneliness. Katya, You're unteachable. What? How many times have I asked you not to call me Katya? But you never meant it. And see, that's your problem. You always think everything in life is a game. I don't think anything like that. And even if it is a game, it's not one you can win. Although I'm glad you called. Didn't think it would happen so soon. So she didn't doubt I'd call at some point. And I'm glad you finally realized what she is. I replied nothing and lowered my head in order to avoid looking her in the eye. No, I partially agreed with Catherine's opinion on Himitsu, but there was still nothing I could do. Even if she hadn't known about her father's real job, even if she hadn't wanted to betray me or hide anything, all of this happened already. And nothing could change the fact that she had been lying to me, even if not for long. I can understand why Himitsu treats you like she does. But you, what has she done to you? Catherine grew embarrassed and immediately tensed up. Isn't what she's done to you enough? Even if we're not together anymore, it doesn't mean that... She clicked her tongue and raised her voice even more. It's a pity that you don't realize it yourself. But I did. I understood that Himitsu was dedicating herself wholeheartedly to me, yet I couldn't forgive her for a single stupid mistake. Neither could I forget about the skeletons in her closet. If not hers, then her father's. The plates of the scales were swaying back and forth. Plates! Oh, you better be careful with those. Then there was Catherine, whose intentions I hadn't understood at all for a while now. Sometimes I felt ashamed for being so spineless. You have your circumstances. You've said as much too. Maybe I have. Catherine smiled sadly, torturing the poor leaf. Winter is coming. You like winter. Thank your surname. You know I feel the same about all 4 seasons. What about Christmas, New Year's? What would you like to get as a gift from Santa Claus? A one-way ticket away from here. 1 ticket? Catherine tilted her head and her eyes flashed. Do you want to talk about this now? What about the destination? Isn't that important? I tried to smooth out the awkwardness. To the moon. We were sitting there, talking about nothing. That was exactly what I needed. So you're going to be the first person on the moon. Hey. Catherine gently nudged me in the side. Well, everyone knows Stanley Kubrick faked the Apollo landing. Are you asking for another Caribbean crisis? This time the missiles will be at your coast. Knowing the Japanese, I wouldn't be surprised. This is all bad, isn't it? Of course it is. I look at you and Himitsu and I see no differences, borders, nations. Maybe that's the case in a perfect world, but I would prefer to have no differences somewhere far away from here. Have you ever read Heinlein? Heinlein? No, why? Nothing. I just think you'd like his books. Your whole world really is science fiction, except there's no science in it. Himitsu had told me almost the same once. I've heard that somewhere before. See? What about you? You don't even have hobbies. Not for lack of desire, she replied, offended by my words. What do you mean? When you need to move all the time? I never told you. Even in the US, we kept moving around the country every couple of months. It's like I'm 7 years old and can't be left alone, or at least with my grandma. I didn't know. Good that you didn't. There's nothing interesting about that. Catherine stood up, smiled way too nicely, and gave me a hand. Let's go. I'm cold. Where? I like to eat something. You? Can do. A cafe? Let's go to your place. But I have nothing to eat at home. Should we order something? I replied after a short pause. Why all of a sudden? I'll cook. Just need to drop by a store on the way. Alright, let's go. Catherine spent a long time meticulously choosing groceries. I would sometimes go shopping with Himitsu and always thought of it as routine, but now I was in awe. Catherine and I had known each other for a while, but what had we been doing usually? Yeah, that. And other dumb stuff that couples in love always do. Even now, little changed. We were fighting and scolding each other, a rather trivial thing to do for 2 people who had feelings for each other. Our relationships with Catherine and with Himitsu were as different from each other as a melodrama about school love and a family sitcom. Besides, mere infatuation isn't enough. A really strong bond is formed through everyday, mundane moments. And it seemed as normal to me to do this with Himitsu as it felt new with Catherine. However, there was something else. First, all this was daily stuff. With a person you love creates a misleading feeling of intimacy. That's when you start to imagine that you're like a family now and will never leave each other. Hopefully the other person is of the same opinion. Then any unexpected issues will be unexpected for both of you. However, if that isn't the case, the first problem you run into will become a long-awaited excuse for them. Katya wanted to take some lettuce, while I had preference for Chinese cabbage. Did it really matter? In order to avoid any disputes, I relented immediately, but it made me think. Uh-oh, this man thinking. It was almost evening when we reached home. I don't mean to imply anything, but isn't this a bit much? I demonstratively raised the bags in my hands that were indeed quite heavy. Luckily, Catherine flatly refused to take my money and paid for everything. I wasn't even sure if I had enough for all that. Are you unhappy about something? It just feels like you're going to cook for a whole regiment. Maybe I am. She smiled mysteriously and entered the yard. While Catherine was cooking, I sat down in front of the TV and started to think. I could hardly expect Himitsu to visit, but if she did, it would be quite difficult to explain all this to her. The sense of intimacy with Katya was growing stronger, as if that was exactly what she was trying to accomplish. Look, thank you, really. Catherine stopped cooking and looked at me confused. I really need some support right now. And someone close around, I wanted to add, but held myself back. Happy to help. No, I'm serious. Well, so am I. The dinner was surprisingly delicious. Hamburgers and french fries. Homemade. You know, I don't eat this stuff often. Fast food is one thing, but it can't compare to this. I guess it'll add at least some variety to your menu then. She was clearly hinting at Himitsu's cooking, but I didn't reply, busy consuming the burger. To be frank, I was quite skeptical when you said you could cook. What about yesterday's breakfast? Well, sometimes even pigs fly. Catherine frowned. That's not nice, you know. And I thought it sounded quite like her in the spirit of our recent conversations. Sorry. Luckily for you, you won't have to eat it all the time. I think Himitsu will soon. She had finished the phrase and suddenly quickly looked at the clock. Late for something? I need to call my mom. Question why I was on the tip of my tongue, but I restrained myself. Go ahead. You know where the phone is. Catherine talked quietly, and I wasn't really trying to listen. At the moment, I was more concerned with how to act with her going forward. Sorry that took so long. It was maybe a couple of minutes. No worries. She looked a bit anxious. Is everything alright? Stupid question. Why do people always ask it? Most importantly, what answer do you expect to hear? I know what you mean. Gets to me too. Just a habit. I smiled apologetically. Let me wash the dishes. She started to hectically collect the dishes from the table. Well, okay. I returned to the TV and Catherine started to wash dishes, doing it very slowly. Deliberately slowly. What's on TV? Eventually she finished and sat next to me. Dangerously close. Hey, Catherine, how about you back the fuck up, homie? Just some garbage? Katya was a rather straightforward girl and usually preferred to talk directly rather than trouble herself with hints. I, on the other hand, knew that in such a situation I was fully at her mercy. If she moved any closer, I'll be right back. I stood up and walked out of the kitchen without looking back. Not for Himitsu. How would I be acting right now if we hadn't fought? What would I have done a week or two ago? Apparently I wouldn't have had any qualms of conscience, and that was exactly what was stopping me at this moment. What do we really fear the most? To be caught with a lover in bed? Or that our own sense of guilt will always be there, making itself known when we look into the eyes of the person we love? The funniest thing was that I felt guilty towards Himitsu, even though we formally weren't in any kind of relationship. And now she wasn't talking to me at all. My dignity rebelled at last. I stopped by to the toilet for show, then immediately returned to the TV. There was some sort of animal show on the screen. I don't understand anything. Not a word. Kachi said merrily, staring at the screen. What do you mean? Well, they use special terms, names. Well, yeah. Guess you don't know them in English either? A little bird with a giant red cap was sitting on a bench, looking important. Maybe. It's quite late already. For what? Shouldn't you go home? No. Catherine turned to me and smiled meaningfully. Are you kicking me out? It's just that your hints... I'm not trying to hint at anything. Can you make me a bed in this room? Or I warned my mom. So that's why she was calling her mother. It didn't take me until now to notice she was in her school uniform. Katya, what is all this about? I'm just tired and feel too lazy to go home. No more than that. It's just you seeing hidden meanings and everything. I looked at the clock. It wasn't that late. This is another game or joke of yours. If I wanted something, I would have told you. Guess she was right about that. Well, it's your call. I was lying on my bed and couldn't close my eyes. Mostly because of the fact that Catherine was sleeping in the other room. Or was she? She could easily come in the middle of the night and lie next to me. She'd get cold, or scared, or lonely. She'd find a reason, come up with an excuse. In the morning, I would end up the one to blame anyway. But even more than that, I was terrified by my own desires. I would have never called myself a masochist, but in our relationship, she was definitely the sadist. The silence of the night felt oppressive. I walked through the house, trying to avoid the kitchen, closed all the doors from the inside. God spare me if Himitsu decided to come in the morning. Having locked and deadbolted all the doors, I finally managed to fall asleep. $9.24, baby. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Murphy's Law. I think that in my circumstances the wording was that important, but I still wouldn't say that something just went wrong in the morning. That would be quite an understatement. Oh. Oh God. Oh no. What's going down? I was woken up by shouting in the kitchen. Oh, dear Christ. I jumped up and dashed to the source of the noise with only my underpants on. Oh, Christ. Catherine and Himitsu were standing in the middle of the room and going at each other at max volume. You could at least put some clothes on. Katya smirked. Ah, yeah, sorry. I replied automatically and returned to my bedroom. Nika-ken. Himitsu's angry voice reached me. I quickly put on my shirt and pants and returned to the battlefield.
Nika-ken, what is she doing here? Early in the morning, too.
Nothing, really. You don't have to make excuses to her.
I'll show you excuses.
Oh, shit. He has to hold her back. She's ready to start swinging. Himitsu was about to throw herself at Catherine and I had to grab her by the arms. It's your own fault.
Nika-ken, let me go.
I will when you calm down.
How can I calm down when she...
Himitsu was choking on her own fury and was scaring me. I don't remember ever seeing her like this. Oh yeah, nah. Homegirl's out for blood.
Still smiling, bitch.
Ooh, yeah! Unleash the beast, Himitsu, let's go! She kept trying to break free, baring her teeth at Catherine like an animal.
How does it feel to be such an unfeeling piece of shit, huh?
No idea. How does it?
You take what you haven't earned, what you don't deserve.
Sunshine, that's enough.
Don't call me that.
Himitsu choked on her anger.
Nika-kun, tell me just one more thing. Did you two fuck again?
What if we did?
I'm not talking to you.
No, we didn't. My voice was trembling. I couldn't understand why. After all, I was telling the truth. Catherine kept smirking, my uncertainty seeming to entertain her even more.
Nika-kun, stop lying.
I'm not. I finally declared with confidence. But even if nothing happened between Catherine and me, was Himitsu going to believe it? What was I supposed to do? Decided I wasn't going to spy on her father, and had stated clearly yesterday that he didn't want to see Himitsu around me.
Nika-kun, I came here just for you, even after my dad warned me not to talk to you anymore.
Exactly. She couldn't just throw me out of her life, and so would keep sinking ever deeper into my problems, and jeopardize herself more and more.
I hoped that we could talk and make up, that you would understand.
She stopped fighting me, but was still breathing heavily.
But as soon as I left you alone, you immediately ran to her? So that's what all your promises and words of love are worth?
Words of love? Catherine looked as if she were in the audience at a comedy show.
Has he gotten better at phrasing those in the past couple of years, I wonder? Shut up, bitch. It's all because of you. You were never in our lives.
But I am. In his life. And moreover, I've never lied to Nick.
You...
Himitsu burst into deep, dull sobs, and I finally released her. Now overwhelmed by emotion, she might do something stupid and harm not only me, but also herself. For example, she could tell her father something she shouldn't. So it'd be better if we didn't communicate any longer. Himitsu, you need to calm down. Go home. No, don't send Himitsu home. You send Catherine home, God damn it. Tell Catherine to get the fuck out of here. What are you doing, homie? I said quietly.
What? Me? Home? What about her?
Go home, Himitsu. I repeated as quietly as before.
Nika-kun.
She pleaded, but I just kept staring at the floor without saying a word.
So that's how it is.
She burst into tears and ran away. If you need my opinion, I'd say you did the right thing. How exactly did she come in if I locked all the doors from inside at night? I opened the door for her, Catherine replied calmly. A lump of burning resentment swelled my throat. So you set the whole thing up, I said through clenched teeth. Even if I did, what does it change? Catherine frowned and gave me a serious look. Oh, come on. Before you unleash your righteous wrath, let me tell you something about your innocent Himitsu. At the time, I found it hard to tell you everything right away, so I decided to ask her for advice first. Catherine pursed her lips and looked away. If I only knew she was such a... Oh, whatever. She pulled herself together and continued. Mom had told me that we had to leave, and of course I was glad, even happy. Except there was you. My heart started to beat faster. I just didn't have a choice, understand? Even if I wanted to stay, I simply needed to tell you everything. But you know, I'm not good at this type of stuff. So I wanted to discuss it with her, with the person who knows you best. And what did I get in return? Well, what? Don't act like you don't understand. You started this, be so kind to see it to the end. That's what she was waiting for. If I hadn't left that time, she would have found another excuse. So all of this is your revenge? Katya turned to me abruptly and made me feel guilty with a single look.
She doesn't deserve the honor. I just wanted to show you her real face.
I hadn't expected such frankness from Catherine, especially after such a long time. But at the same time, I still couldn't figure out what Himitsu had said to her. I understand that you don't have the best relationship with her. Maybe things weren't great back then either, but you had to have expected this kind of reaction. Just because you're also a girl and know all this on a much more sophisticated level than me.
So you really don't understand?
Apparently not.
Yeah, of course. What did I even expect?
I don't know what you're getting at, but it doesn't excuse you in the slightest. Our relationship is worse than ever anyway. You should have known. I grasped my head and thrashed back and forth. Leave, please.
Now you're kicking me out too?
Just leave. I didn't raise my voice, but it was enough for Catherine. She slowly walked to the hall and closed the front door behind her, demonstratively slowly.